All right. Hello, everybody. I always say we are back, and it is true. We are back.
He's not a liar.
It's true. So, we are here, and Esther has some questions over there.
Dang.
And
So,
we shall see what we got going on.
oh boy.
Oh,
So,
oh boy.
so the topics is
The topics. The topics is. That's like a topics marker. The topics is.
anyways, the topic singular,
Okay.
though there could be multiple,
Yeah, I mean, hey.
is around goals because that's something I'm not doing too fantastic at and would like to be doing better. So,
Okay. We don't have to start
step one.
We don't have to do every podcast, though. You being like, I mean, I'm happy to work on stuff. What is that face? Man?
I
That's crazy.
don't have time for this.
Whoa, you don't have time for what?
Talk.
What? What's wrong?
This is not going to be
You're not.
my best.
This isn't
Anyway.
gonna be your best work.
But I do have my pen.
Yeah, the pen is helpful.
Imagine I start writing on the iPad. Anyways, okay.
Jeez.
Give us the importance of having goals, not an eternity. Just give us a brief.
Ooh. The importance of our goals. Well, I mean, it's something that we've talked about a lot already, which I'm happy to continue to discuss. But I guess to give a quick synopsis, if I was going to try to give like a one-off, I guess it would be something along the lines of if you don't have an aim, you don't hit the target, right? So the target being the goal, the aim being the working on it on a regular basis, right? So goals are important just because it keeps you having some sort of a path to follow. Without that, I get very bored, depressed, don't want to do anything. If there's no like, here's what's coming up.
And for me, I feel like I don't get depressed, but life just starts to fly by and it feels like, what's going on? What am I doing?
Interesting. You think without goals,
I'm
it goes
not-
by faster?
Yes, because I'm not thinking ahead and I'm just living each day. And then it's like the days go by fast and I'm like, where are we? What happened?
I feel
What's
like the
been going
goals
on?
and like the next thing's coming up makes it go faster. That's intriguing. We think of that different. All right.
I feel like my life just starts to become like a blur of going through the
Okay.
motions.
I hear
and
that.
I'm like, huh?
I hear that. Okay, so
But
you said short answer. So do you want to go to the next one? Like, how are you feeling this one's going to be like?
I just when I start getting going with the question stuff, I tend to not participate. So I just wanted to say,
No, please do. I was just wondering if you wanted
thought.
more from what I was saying. You want me to keep them shorter?
Just because I know you could have gone on a long tangent of the importance and all
definitely.
of that
Oh, definitely.
around goals, because that's a passion of yours.
Yeah.
And it's not of mine, but I know that it's necessary, but it's very hard for me to get around to it. Mostly because of the anxiety and stress that comes along with then achieving the goals.
For you, it doesn't necessarily bring about.
Yes, and just
you're feeling like it does for you.
A few days ago, I started writing down some goals, and I was like, you know what? Sorry, excuse me, I'm drinking very carbonated water. I was like, just literally write down things that you want to do. Because when I think of goals, I'm like, oh, getting a second home. I think of like big, huge things and that's why I tend to start to get stressed once I make goals. Cause I'm like, oh, how do I even achieve this thing? What's step one? So I was just like, what do I want to do? So I just put like, buy a dresser on there because we have way too many clothes and no room for them. And that's just a thing. And that's a goal that I want. And I haven't done it in many months because I've been wanting that. So it's like, it's very simple to just write that down. And then it's like, okay, what are you going to do that?
But I would say there's a big difference between buying a dress. I mean, these are just ones that you threw out there, and I get that. But
I just literally said one.
But no, you said two actually. You buying the home and then buying a dresser.
Oh, that one.
One is more so.
That one's not on the list that I made. I just
sure.
Said one.
One would be more so goal setting and beneficial, and the other one is just expenditure of money. I mean, now I understand.
It's beneficial to me because it streamlines my organization and it helps
You are
me have
very
a
good with
clearer
organization.
mind, because when I get home and stuff is out, I can't work on stuff that's not chores, because I'm just like obviously I can, because you don't like when I phrase things like that.
Well, right,
But
and that's what
it's very difficult for me to move past that, and I'll like start if I try to just like, oh, okay, I got to work on like video ideas. And if I try to start doing that, I'll just get like super
Well, and that's what was funny, because what I was
distracted
gonna
and-
say is you saying, "Oh, the getting a second house or whatever, such a big." That doesn't have to be a big thing. You can make it.
I mean,
not.
but
You can just
obviously
say,
it's a big thing.
but why not think about it like, no, this is just something that we're gonna do, and just
Because I don't like to be not realistic. I don't like to be hopelessly not ambitious, hopelessly positive, and what is the word I'm trying to think of? Pessimistic and optimistic. I don't want to be overly optimistic where it's not realistic.
You think it's overly optimistic that we would have a second home, or even more than that?
For most people, that's completely just.
But what's the
getting
point?
one home that they own and don't rent is like
Sure,
crazy.
but what's the
So
point?
it's
But what's
just
the point
on a
of-
general wide consensus of the entire world? Getting a home, even just one, is a big goal.
Well, we were just talking about this off the podcast, which is, again, my whole thing is always mindset. Everyone I talk to, anything I do is just mindset stuff. Why set yourself up for wanting to think that that's such a difficult thing?
Because it's realistic.
Or to compare, be like, oh, well, most people don't. Well, as you said,
would it be better for me to say that'll be super easy,
Yes,
and then
100%.
fail?
Yes, that would be better.
That's just infinitely more negative to me. Then you get disheartened and you think, oh, I really can't do this.
No,
thing.
now what's the
If you
bad
give
part?
yourself-
What's the bad part then?
Let
Not
me
the
tell you-
failing. The bad part is the then getting disheartened. That's the bad part, not
But
the failing.
you
Because
set yourself
you
up
learn
to fail
from
when
failing.
you
Yeah, but you learn from failing.
correct.
You learn from that.
Here's what I'm thinking though.
You could use a lot more trying new things and failing. And then you would be like, oh, wait, failing isn't bad. Failing isn't that big of a deal.
Here's
you just
the
keep
thing.
going.
Does one not usually choose what they think is the most beneficial thing?
Does one not choose what
A
they
path.
think is the most
If
beneficial
you're
thing?
like, oh, should I choose a difficult way to do things or a non-difficult? In my mind, the way that I'm
well,
saying
you
would
just
be a
changed the
trouble.
word that you used. One, you said, wait, you said beneficial, then you said difficult. You changed.
Beneficial is what I mean. Then.
Okay,
Stick
beneficial,
with
what do you
that
mean? And then my response to that would be generally the more difficult path is the more beneficial. That would be my follow up.
I
Do you think that I'm wrong?
need a lot of energy to deal with you.
But you're not.
Because if I know that I will be more likely to achieve a goal by thinking about it in a certain way, should I not think about it in that way?
No, 100%. By the way, I've
if
never
I
said
have
that
evidence
you're wrong.
of past,
Yeah.
because if I hadn't experienced either one, then
Sure.
I can decide which.
I
one's
am
better.
not sitting here. These are opinions. I have not sat here and said you're wrong. I've said my opinion. Now, I might be pushing it a little bit. I wouldn't deny that. I always am pushing it to some degree. So are you, right?
Correct. I know of
Now-
myself.
Right.
Can I say something?
In 1 second. Because I'd like you to zone in, because I'd like you to zoom in and focus
Lock
in on
in?
the one, I think, the most important thing that I said, which was, you said, but then if I mess up, that's a problem, because then I'm going to get upset. No, the messing up is not the problem. Your reaction to the issue would be the problem. Not you're a problem.
And that is
Be careful to
correct.
hear what I'm
And
saying,
if
yeah.
I think that that's an issue for me, I should work on it. But
Okay.
also, should I not at the same time be playing to my strengths and tell myself
Strengths. I love that.
strengths? Oh
no,
my
I love
gosh.
that. No. I said I
I'm
liked it. My strengths.
running on a
People
little bit low of
Really? Okay.
everything right now.
Jeez. Golly. Okay.
All right. What was my thought that I asked if I could say?
Oh, sorry. I'm not sure what it was.
Oh,
Playing to your strengths.
yes.
I like
I
that.
know of myself
Mhm.
that if I set a
Yes.
goal that I know I can achieve and I achieve it, that just propels me with joy and
Phenomenal.
strength and a word
Yeah.
that I can't think of right now
Yeah.
to then go and do more.
Okay, so let's.
And when I miss something, I'm very hard on myself.
Okay.
And
so I won't speak.
and I'm not saying don't work on that.
Sure.
Just try and always accomplish everything and give yourself grace.
Sure.
Because that's stupid.
Okay, so I won't speak.
So I need to work
then.
on the other thing at the same time. But for my goal setting, should I not try and do it in a way that I think is going to be beneficial?
First, I haven't disagreed with that yet, and I still don't. And I want to be careful to say that I'm not disagreeing with that, and that I am hearing you and I am listening to you, and I'll be careful during at least this specific time. I mean, I should always be careful, but even I'm going to be specific and say that now I'll speak on that, how to play towards your strengths. So I would say that you need to do that. But the thing is then you actually need more momentum and more consistency and more discipline than other people. And that's also something that you've said, that this is not a necessarily one of your strengths, right? So I would say that um, if you want to do little things, then you have to continuously take those steps very consistently. Like I'm gonna do, I want to get a dresser. I mean, that's one that you said. I feel like that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but you mentioned that one. I want to get a dresser. You're basically saying that's something on more of a to-do list rather than a goal. Like you want to have that thing. I don't think that's a goal, because that's not automatically an opinion. Like no opinion needed. That's just a good thing for, like, we don't need a dresser. It's not a need. It's a want. That would be a want.
Well, I feel like
But it
a
would be
lot of goals are just wants.
they can be, but
We
some are
don't need a
but
different house than the one that we
no,
live
no,
in.
no, but some are promoting.
Are
Some
you
are
saying to not have physical goals?
no, of course physical goals, but I'm saying some obviously might be more, I want the newest, nicest car. I don't.
Well,
That's not
that's
something
frivolous to me.
the dresser is not.
No, because
Okay.
it's a practical.
And by the way, I'm not
It's a practical need, and
sure.
like I said, it will
Sure. It will help
make my life
streamline other
easier.
things. And by the way, I'm kind of asking you questions. I'm not saying that you're wrong. So anyway, if you're going to do smaller ones, like you said, you've wanted to get a new job for a matter of maybe a year or more.
That
But
one's on my list as well.
great, phenomenal. But you haven't worked on that at all. And I would think
Well, I
that,
haven't worked on any because I only just wrote them down.
well, right. Okay. And that's fine. But I'm saying you had been wanting to write them down. You talked about me about writing them down for a month. So I'm just saying, I would truly say that it's more procrastination than anything else. Rather than these, oh, if I fail, I'm going to be sad. What have you tried that you failed at? I'm intrigued.
Procrastination is an effect of, because goal setting makes me stressed and
Right.
gives me anxiety. So what is a natural response to that? To procrastinate.
Well, but then let me
But
ask
I don't
you,
know what the
have you
relevance
done?
is. We both know that I've done that,
Sure.
and now I'm trying to not do that. So I
Sure.
don't really
If
know
you're
the relevance of going back and being like, but you did this, okay? And I'm not now.
Oh, no, I'm not.
We both know that I did that,
saying,
and I'm not
sure.
just trying to sweep it under the rug and be like,
No,
forget I did
no,
that.
I'm not saying relevance or anything. This is for everybody, included watching and everything. This is not me talking about you. This is me talking about I do the same exact thing. I've been wanting to do. I've been wanting to have more written down, viewable, seeable, trackable by not just one person, but by everybody, things in the business. When this person gets to this point in the process, then this person takes over, who does this. And I haven't worked on that nearly as much as I could. I'm procrastinating on that without a doubt. Now, why am I doing it? I don't think it's because of an anxiety or scared of it kind of thing like you've mentioned. For me, it's more so usually laziness, just being like, I don't feel like it right now. I'm just not going to work on it. Or not only lazy, I'm not a lazy person, so I wouldn't say that. It's usually distraction. Now, I'm happy to say that a lot of my distractions sometimes is like, oh, I'm just going to work on a different, more fun part of the business. But that's not how businesses work. So
You
that
also have had times that you just don't work on anything.
right, which would be the laziness, but that's not as common as me being like, oh, I'm supposed to do that. Now let me just go find a new partner because that's more interesting. Like I did this month, finding multiple new people to work with us, which has been great for the business. But then there could have been better pieces of onboarding those partners. It's actually gone quite well this time. It's definitely gotten better, but it could be better. So anyway, when we're talking about the goal setting of like a new job, have you ever even written out your resume?
No.
Because that would be an actual step towards, because writing down getting the job, that's not working on. That's just writing it down.
Did I say that I worked on it?
No, I wouldn't say that you did say that, but you've been saying that you want a new job for like a year. So I'm surprised no actual work on the getting the new thing.
Let's
like, remember when you said a lot of people aren't entrepreneurs.
Honest, I do not want a new job. I just think that I need to get one. So
I think that's, I mean, you just said it right now. You've said you feel like you need one. So whether or not you want one or whatever, you're an adult and you're like, oh, I need one, so I'm going to do it. And you don't actually need one, I guess, it's more so of a schedule and you having something to do on a regular basis rather than a need from a financial sense, which is just interesting. Most people would think, oh, I gotta, can't pay for this, that, the other thing. And that's not our case, which I think is interesting. The camera was on you for that whole bit.
Anyways, let's move on.
Okay.
We're derailing from the
You
goal.
said you didn't necessarily want to scoot on quick. Is that what you want to do?
I would not call that quick in any sense of the.
No, but you're saying now like we spent too long.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So anyways, what do you consider the essential elements of effective goal setting?
Well, it's kind of like what I just said now. The setting the goal is not actually have anything to do with it. Many episodes ago, you were talking about how like lots of people call themselves entrepreneurs, but they're just kind of like not really. And I would say the same thing. A good goal setter doesn't have 100 goals that they've never worked on. A good goal setter has 10 that.
That's why it says what's effective goal setting. So one of your answers could be not having 20 of them.
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. So I would say have 10 that you're saying you're working on. I don't have a ton. I have a select few that I work on sometimes and I'm not disciplined nearly enough and I miss some. But I have them that I'm like, I am working towards this and it will happen. It could happen in a shorter amount of time. I could streamline it if I really, really grinded it out. And that's what's interesting is you and I are more so people that like the life we're living. We're not super disciplined. We're not high on that level of like a type of like, gotta get this done. If it, we have fun, we hang out with people all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like we're kind of a mix of it. I think it's good. We're not going to be those guru type people that's like a 2-hour morning routine. Half the reason I love my head being shaved is because I just get to roll out of bed a few minutes before I have to leave for work. And a lot of the ways that I take care of my beard now are just for the quickness of being able to get up and leave. So anyway, I think we can be a good mix for a more middle person. So anyway, goal setting, I would say, is don't have too many. Have enough that you're actually working on them. That's effective goal setting. Because the setting of the goal is not what's important. The achieving of the goal is what's important.
That's all you got on that?
That's all I got? That was kind of long.
Not have a lot. Don't have a lot. That's all. It's good. We'll elaborate on things on different.
Oh, you're not going to answer that one?
Oh, did I need to?
Well, I mean, you've commented on that you don't even feel like you're necessarily an effective goal setter, so maybe you would want to say...
I'm not, but I often have good thoughts on things, though I don't implement them the best.
Well, but you shouldn't... I feel like you should be careful to not share things if you feel like you're not... I feel like you should say, for you, goal setting is more difficult, and you break it down to a to-do list. There's a car driving by outside, and there was music. That's why I think she thought maybe you guys could hear it or something.
Nah, I was just... in my own world.
She's cool. What is it? He's cool and everything.
He's quiet unless
he's quiet for real. Unless you know.
He's in his own world.
That is actually Esther, by the way. She's very quiet. There's actually another quiet person that started working with her, and they didn't talk to each other for months. I mean, you guys commented on it for a length. Like they had talked to other people, and now they're like best friends. But it took them a long time to even literally say like hello.
That's correct. And let me tell you, the new people we get that recently I be talking to. I mean, like, for my standard, I be talking to.
So speak on just short how goal setting is hard for you. So you do checklists, you do to-do lists, and take it day by day.
Yeah, but
like I think of 3, 5, 10 year plans.
I think we have different thoughts on what goals are.
Of course we do. Everybody does. You and me are quite different people, so I would expect that we have our
generally lean toward, when you say goal to me, I will think of big things, but if I'm like working on goals, I don't do big things.
Okay. So your goals are daily tasks.
Yeah. So it's more of, I don't know if that counts as goals, but
it doesn't, you get to define that for yourself. I don't get to define what a goal is. You would have to decide that for yourself. You might have no long-term. There's lots of people I know that don't think into the future. I mean, we've met multiple people that have expressed it in that exact way. I don't think about the future and I don't really care. and they're okay with that. Now, I'm not saying that I even like that, but it's not, I don't get to decide if they're chilling and that's what they like.
Yeah, and I do like
But
right off the bat, I feel like that's negative.
okay.
But then I'm like, I guess there's a way that it could be not. But
I guess I would, in my opinion,
because you could be living a good life and just
sure.
not have like huge things
Mhm.
or like a lot of planning, but maybe you just decide one day, I need a better job because I want a different house. And you
Well,
just go for it. And maybe they didn't spend time thinking about and mapping out and having this goal. They just decided that it's necessary one day and did it.
if you really
And if
break
they're doing
down,
that type of thing, then I feel like, yeah, it's not
if you really break,
necessarily necessary if you still are progressing and getting where you need to in life.
if you really break down what we're talking about here, and a lot of people do it now, things shift, right? You have different generations, and often you think differently than the generation before you. If for no other reason, then you want to be different, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and I don't want to get too into it because it's not something that I've studied a lot. But you also don't have to study it to notice it. But anyway, it's fairly Western 20, 30-year-olds that are like, work, get more money, buy a bigger house. Like, what is even the point of that? Why is that even one of the goals? You know what I'm saying? Like, you see now a lot of people that are like, wait, I want to make as little money as possible that gets me by, work as few hours as possible to get that money that gets me by, and own as little as possible. And a lot of things I buy are just trinkets and things for fun.
Yeah,
Going out to
because
eat
then
is
you
sometimes
have
people's goal for the day.
then you have like the van living type
Right.
vibe where their goal is to just
Own as
do
little
as much enjoyable things as possible.
drive around.
They're
Yeah,
like, I just want to
see new
make money
things.
to be able to do fun things. So they don't even have like
And that's been easier to do than ever. And I'm not even saying that I disagree with that. There's times where I've been like, yo, I really could sell the spot that I have here in a higher income, house is worth more, good location, California type area, go somewhere else, buy a beater house that's small, and get a van. I've thought of doing that. I don't think that those people have to do the things that they find important for them that keeps them going. And we're not even getting into the things that we find even more important than that, which is not material things on anything. It's, Christianity, personal faith, and things of this nature. It's just a whole nother conversation. And it's not something that everyone right now is thinking about. So we're kind of we're scratching the level, the first layer of, what do people choose to do with goals and what they're doing. I mean, there's phenomenal people that we could sit down and talk with right now, and they wouldn't even have mentioned one thing that has to do with money, work, house, or anything. And again, I would love to have that conversation too. We have this podcast for a specific reason, but if someone, I'm not going to name them right now, but if he and I sat down and we were talking, he would just be talking about the missions trips that he's taken, the people he's talked to, and how many people he told about Jesus this week. And I think that's phenomenal. And I think I should probably think like that more too. It's not that I don't think about that ever, but I think over time we'll talk more about that on this podcast. So that more people are getting a chance to hear it. But that's obviously a huge goal of ours too. And I feel like, I wouldn't say that we've lost it, but for a while, I was inviting a lot of people to our young adult Bible study. We were really, and now we've kind of not talked about that as much. And I think there's ebbs and flows, not necessarily that there should be, but I think that there naturally is. But there's obviously a lot of goals and things that we have that we haven't really spoken on right here, right now.
Sure, that's generally one of my bigger goals that I mention once I start getting on to stuff.
Which is like what?
Is just to grow spiritually.
Sure.
And progress in that.
Right. So what do you do daily to work on that, I guess?
I don't.
Is that on
As with most of the other stuff that I wrote down.
Is that on your task sheet?
Honestly, no, which is funny because that usually is one of the first things
So that's
that
intriguing.
I think of.
So something that we obviously would say.
I mean, but I've been thinking about it just yesterday. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start a prayer journal. And because like at young adults, obviously, almost every time I'm there, somebody's mentioning a prayer request. And I'm like, cool, I'll pray for that.
And then you wish you'd remember it over time.
Yeah. And then I'm like, I want to do more than just praying about it once because I'm pretty good at making sure you need to, if you said or thought, I want to pray about this,
that's
you
not a
need
good
to pray
reason
about
to
it.
even do it though. But
What do you mean?
Well, just to be like, well, I said I was going to, so I have to.
No, that's what I'm saying. I want to do more than just be
Right,
like, oh, I
right.
said I'd pray for them. Let me
Not,
hit that
yeah,
real quick,
yeah, no.
say it real quick, and go about
No,
life.
I agree with you. Of
I
course.
do that generally to make sure that I do it, and then
Right.
oftentimes I'll later on when I'm like actually in a space to pray
Sure.
about it again. But I just want to like
Yeah, what is sad is
more
what has
and more I
happened is,
feel like I'm seeing the importance of continuing.
of course.
Because generally when you pray for something, it's not like gonna happen right away. So you
Sure.
probably shouldn't just pray for it once and be like, all right,
Sure.
we'll see where that
Well,
goes.
the other thing is, we're obviously, talking about all this stuff. The other thing is sometimes you compartmentalize. If you have a goal, spiritual based, work based, whatever it is, you compartmentalize it sometimes and you make it to where you're only working on it on certain times. But if you really want to get good at something or accomplish something, it's those things where people write it on their mirror in the morning. They get the dry erase markers and they're writing it to where they're seeing it all the time.
Yeah, and that's
It's like,
another reason to write it down. Just
well, that's what I'm
writing
saying.
it down, you'll do it more
We
without
have to
even looking
not-
at the writing again.
Right. We have to not compartmentalize. We always mention young adults. We've mentioned that so many times on this, just us talking, because it's something that's important to us. But why is it important, and why are we only doing some of those more praying type things, or being in the Word only on those days? We've compartmentalized it and put it on that day rather than on more.
Sure. I generally pray every day and multiple times.
Right.
But
Well,
I
as
don't
usual. Right.
super often like set aside a time and a space to do that.
Right.
I just generally do throughout my whole
Quiet
day.
place.
Yeah. And I feel like that's negative. And
Well, yeah.
I feel like another thought that I had at Young Adults last night was I commented on a few things. Our group is bigger than the small group. We broke off into small groups. And the small group was bigger than it generally is because usually we do more groups.
Thank you for giving us all
So
those
anyways,
details.
huh?
I said thank you for giving us all the details.
Why am I here?
No, go. What?
Anyways.
Go ahead. It was just a little joke. Go ahead.
I said a few things and I was like, I would like to share more because there was a lot of very quiet people in our group. Some of them didn't even say literally anything the whole time. So I was like, I wish I would share more because we had a couple times of like, anybody else? And then we're like, okay, let's ask another question or something. And I was like, I don't have things to say right in my mind because I'm not spending enough time
on your own time
talking about these type of things and being in the Word and all of this on my own time. So yeah, I'm not going to have a lot just waiting ready to be spoken. So I was like,
because it's about
if I
consistency.
spend more time
you would
on myself doing these things, then I'll have things to share because they'll be like, oh, was there anything you struggled with this week? And I'm like, what did I do this week? What even happened this week? And if you had check-ins and were in the Word and doing things throughout the whole week, you would know already. And you'd be like, this is the answer to that. That question wasn't asked. I just came up with a random one.
Sure.
But I would have more things to say and things would come up easier in my brain if I were spending more time.
Yeah, so we want to do more of that. That's definitely something on the goals. And it's not something that everyone would think is for them, but obviously we think that it is, obviously, or should be. And even more so for ourselves, it's not something that we think we've arrived or done it or made it. If anything, I think we've probably felt like we've pulled back on it a little bit more recently than we could or should. What's the next question?
Okay, how do you differentiate between short-term and long-term goals?
So that would be the thing where, I feel like I have both short-term and long-term, and then you don't feel like you have the long-term ones. You just have the short-term.
Sometimes I'll have a want for long-term, but I don't think of it as a goal because I'm not taking
daily
steps and I'm not thinking about it enough. But I'll think of the future and be like, oh, I want this in the future.
Yeah. Well, a great mix would be obviously putting Esther and mine together, which sometimes we do great on and sometimes we do horrible on. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I have this big long-term thing. Here's the steps we need to take to do that. Esther, can you remember the steps? Because I'm going to forget the daily stuff. You're good at that. But I'm good at making sure we keep working on getting to the long thing and encouraging us and exciting us and keeping it going. And again, times we've done great at that. Times we've done worse at that because that's just life and things. Of course, I would love it not to.
And it could work perfectly, like you're saying.
Right.
if we could both
Play to
do
the
our
strengths.
roles
Right.
and
Right. Which
keep each other accountable, you
Right.
could help set the long-term goals.
Right.
We could make a plan, and I could keep us on track with daily because I love to get a daily checklist.
Yeah, but I feel like I've
But
set good
we're-
long-term ones.
Sure, but we just haven't arrived, obviously. Otherwise, it'd be working.
Well, I wouldn't say that's not working at all.
Yeah, sure.
I wouldn't say that it's not working at all. And I would say that I'm setting goals quite often. Do you feel like they don't align with what you want? So that's why you're
No,
not
I just
working
feel like
on
they
them?
haven't been broken down into
But that's the part you're supposed to do.
accomplishable.
But that's the part you were supposed to do, right? I mean, is that not what we just said here?
No,
Okay.
The whole thing should be done together, and then
Well, of
once
course,
there's
But you just said playing to the
this is
strengths.
what we need to do on a daily basis, then
I feel like I've done that I feel like I've broken down. Here's what we need to do.
but
A,
it's
B, C,
usually
D.
a plan that you made and I wasn't involved in, and then it's like, oh,
But you just said you didn't want to be involved with the long-term thing, and you don't know.
I said both of us.
Well, right, but you said you don't. We just said playing to the strengths. So you just said you don't really have, like, at the beginning. I mean, obviously you mentioned it for a reason. Obviously, I say this every podcast, and I'll continue saying it as we've had these conversations off of this video as well. Like getting the next house. You've commented many times that you imagine getting a second house, whether or not this one is rented or sold or whatever. That doesn't really matter to you. I've expressed exactly how to do that, but a lot of times then you don't do the things that we need.
Well,
to
because
do for
it's
those
not
things.
like oh yeah, cool.
No, but it is. That's the thing.
Easy peasy.
Well,
It's
that's
like,
why- and that's-
change everything that you're doing on a daily basis,
No.
and then we'll have it.
No, and that's why I said that at the very beginning of this podcast it's always a mindset thing. And that's why I stopped you right at the beginning, you saying, well, that's a really difficult thing. It's not difficult. Very few things in life are truly, truly difficult. It just takes
And that's where you lose people, because you can't just
speak for
say-
yourself. Speak for yourself.
I can speak for people that I've seen and heard their opinions.
Well, they're wrong though. That's the thing. Because that's not truly an opinion.
Imagine.
Imagine what? Imagine what?
Imagine being the way that you are.
Whoa, I'm happy.
Crazy. Must be a wild ride. Anyways, we need to wrap things up here.
Wait, no, we don't need, wait, you can't say that and then
We've
just
got
try
a
to
schedule. We've got places
wait,
to be, we've got things to
but you
do.
can't just say that and then jump past it. So you're saying
can I?
that the opinion of, well, you can accomplish it if you put effort into it. You're saying, that's a little bit dangerous. It might ruffle a couple feathers, so don't say it. That's what you just said.
You're crazy. I
Well,
don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
right now.
but that's what you just said.
No, I said imagine saying that somebody's wrong so blatantly and so
Well, but I said
confidently.
something wrong about something very specific. You're saying I said that about any old random thing. It was very specific, and I just repeated it, and then you didn't answer. You just said that it's not beneficial to tell people, hey, you can accomplish it if you put in the time and the effort. You said, oh, no. That might not be the opinion some people hold, so don't say it. That's a very slippery slope. Okay, 2 + 2 is 4, but some people don't think that's true. Well, so now am I just supposed to be like, oh, well, I guess I can't tell them because they just think differently. That's a very slippery slope to just say that.
That is correct. But
Okay.
here's the problem
Okay.
that we have.
Go ahead.
Oh, just kidding.
Go ahead.
No, everybody's got a lot of problems. and
No,
we are
no.
included.
Some people have more problems than others. No issue saying that. You're just trying to give everyone this blank slate. It's just not the case. It's just not the case.
Dude loves to comment on everything possible. Anyways, now I even lost my train of
We're
thought.
here talking, and Esther's like, but don't talk though.
What
Don't
am I
talk."
talking about? What did I say? What was my starting statement?
Okay, so you said
Don't go super far back.
No, we'll go super
Literally,
far
what
back.
was I about to say?
you said something. Not everyone can do everything, and I said anyone can do anything if they put the time and the effort into it. And
You're
then
going
you
too far
said,
back.
well, some people don't hold that same opinion, and I said, well, they're wrong.
Oh, I found it.
Okay.
The problem with us and our conversating
I
is
was thoroughly enjoying it.
think a lot of things are 2 + 2 = 4.
Mhm.
And I think they're opinions. And you will fight on them because not fight.
I'm
you
not
will
fighting.
stand your ground and like try and be like
Mhm.
because you think 2 + 2 is 4. And it's
Well-
a fact, so she needs to know
Well,
it.
it's not.
And
it's
I
not-
think that's your opinion.
Okay, well, let me
and-
just ask you then. Let me
And
just
the
ask
trouble
you.
is
Let's see.
everybody has different things that they think
Of
are
course,
true.
of course,
and
of
opinion.
course. So let's find out what you think, because you haven't. I asked you a question and you didn't respond. What do you think is more beneficial? Thinking that you can accomplish it if you put the time and the effort in, or thinking, this is too hard for me? Let's just ask you. You go ahead and respond to that.
You're crazy, and your attitude is Off the charts.
Wait, off the chart. I just asked you a question and you're still trying to not answer.
Passive aggressive. And you know the answer. And I forget your wording. So obviously it's better to think that you can do something and work on it.
So you and I
Which
actually
I never
share.
said the opposite
Well,
of,
right. So you and I actually share the same opinion. So why are you playing for someone's opinion that you don't even agree with? Why are you sticking up for someone's that you don't even agree with?
I'm not.
But you are, because I just asked you and that was different than what you originally said. You said, don't say that because some people might, you were like, some people, they don't think like that. Well, they should change how they be thinking.
And you say that too often.
Oh, potentially, but I can't speak on everything I've ever said.
Every thought you have is people need to change their opinion.
Every thought I've had,
correct.
no, I'm not. Usually, often it seems like you're saying like I have this like higher plane of thinking. Not at all. I've viewed and seen and have learned from other people that this way clearly has worked, and I'm going to try to align it. It's not about me. It's not about my opinion, because also you agreed with it. Obviously, the better mindset is, well, clearly I can accomplish this. So anyway,
we get too distracted. This is some great
good,
process.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Gradient of things.
We'll get to it. But
there,
that's why I said at the very beginning when you were like, "Oh, getting the house, that's a really difficult thing." Explain to me why you think that is so difficult. Why does that have to be such a difficult thing? Money?
It wouldn't.
There's tons of money in the world.
You would like to keep this house when we get the next one.
Okay, you want to get detailed. Go ahead. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And to me, that then means that I need to have documented amount of time at a job and a certain amount of income for the next place.
That is one of the routes.
I have the right amount of years at the place that I'm at right now.
Correct.
So maybe it would be more beneficial to just lock in and go back to full-time hours, and because then
that is
if you're saying, oh, it's not get a higher paying job, they don't care if I've been there for 6 months.
That is the best response. That is the best response you've ever had to this conversation. I absolutely love it.
Wow.
I compliment her and she's like, oh, how could he? No. That is you're 100% right. And you're thinking through it. You're saying, now that is a phenomenal response. That's not, oh, it's hard. Some people have a different opinion. None of that matters. You just said, well, wait a second. If you're thinking that, because now you've brought up the next actual real set of questions. When do we actually want to get this next place potentially?
Ouch.
Okay. Is it before 2 years? Then you're right. It would probably make more sense for you to stay where you're at.
And there's other things to consider.
Get paid more.
Like having kids.
Sure.
Because
a great consideration.
Then I personally don't want to be working when I have a child.
I don't think that you should be, at least for a certain amount of time, and then depending on how many, and there's
working,
a lot of questions.
Meaning
that come into
like, because obviously I'll be working on stuff.
Well, first of all, you'll be working on the kid. I mean, that's number one.
Correct.
That takes a lot of time.
And I'll still be doing stuff that we need for our daily life at home.
Of course.
I just mean like, having a job.
Oh, you mean making an income?
Sure. Or just working for somebody else, because I might be doing job tasks for businesses that you own.
Sure.
All that.
You imagine that you won't be leaving the home to work. You might do some at-home stuff potentially, but you don't imagine going somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah,
so then the problem is, because there's not a problem. The thoughts that flow through my
she's getting that good
flow through my mind are me feeling like, oh, we said 5 years before we want to have kids, at least not on the 5-year mark. We've because
she's only specified that this year, by the way.
That's
that
crazy.
Was never
I
specified.
think that is very much untrue, but
okay.
if that's the case, I apologize.
Well, no, we were just never so specific. I'm not saying that now it's unfair.
We didn't really think to make that specific.
But that's what I'm saying. But you just said we didn't say
I just knew that at least for 5 years, I definitely don't want them.
Correct. That is right.
So, anyways, my mind is like, this year is 5 years. So I'm like, so generally within the next year-ish, we'll be having a kid. So then, but then my mind was telling me, oh, you have to get a better job and be there for a certain amount of time to get a different house. And so then I'm like, wait, so do I have 2 years of working at a different job to get income for a house? Or does that then mean I don't have a kid for 2 years? Do I just work something random for a year and then I'm done working because then I have a kid? Like, I just...
Exactly. Now, these are the type of
And the problem is that I have those thoughts and that stresses me out.
Sure.
And then I'm like, let me not think about this. Rather than be like, hey, let's have all these thoughts. Let's map them out. Let's see what all this means.
Right.
And I'm just like,
very,
that's stressful.
sure.
Bye.
Let's be very, and people can say whatever they want about me at any time. But
You gotta stop saying that.
No, because I'm about to say something that people will be like, oh, how could he bring that up?
Then just start saying it. They don't by now.
Yeah, I know, but stuff gets clipped. I'm the one clipping it.
And they know I'm here to absolutely fight you.
So here's the thing. I have asked these exact questions off camera, and you won't usually discuss at this length.
Here's what you do, though. Here's what you do, though.
But let me finish.
Can I tell them what you do?
Yeah.
You say,
but let me finish.
So what's the next job you're getting?
Right, but
you don't ask questions like I just asked myself. You give like big, huge questions that I'm like, I don't have an answer to.
What you said was a
don't have a
response
plan.
to what I said. You didn't ask. I asked you the question. Okay. Which is, this is not tit for tat or back and forth. It's not anything to do with that. But what I'm saying is that I'm actually trying to say this is beneficial. I'm not going a negative route. That's one of the reasons we actually started this podcast, because we've talked about it a couple of times, but we haven't talked about it recently, because we've actually done something like this multiple times with different main goal ideas, which is funny because that also plays into short-term goal and long-term goals. We've done the short-term goal of sitting down and recording things like this multiple times, but not exactly sure what we want to do with it. And we have a little bit of a better idea this time around, what we're going to do with these videos. Anyway, a lot of times for our brains are different, right? I talk very similar on and off of the podcast, but you will get in a different mindset and go deeper into these questions. And so I think if people can get themselves, I don't know, it's different. I have been recording stuff that I do for a decade. I love recording things. I love videos. I love doing these things. So I've been doing this for a long time. That's why I say I talk the same off and on. But for people that haven't, it does something.
But
they talk different.
You generally communicate the same.
Right.
But you'll have a conversation like we're having about goals much differently than you'd have with me off camera. Because like I said, off camera, you'll be like, so what's your plan?
But is that
what's your next job?
But that's actually what I said here. I said, what are we doing for the house? And then you said, well, my true answer to that would be, now I have all these ideas, but that's the first time you articulated it like that to me.
But now I've been sitting here thinking about it, so I can answer that question.
Right, and this is all positive.
I know, but I mean, you literally will walk into the room and start a conversation with, so what's the next job you're getting? And I'm like,
so again, here what
I don't have an answer.
That's why I'm saying
I don't know.
think and talk and articulate the same way off and on. I can jump into
that. You initiate conversations and you.
No, I can jump into it right away. I can jump into
different.
it. I can jump into it right away. And I'm not saying this is better or worse. This is just who I am as a person. That's just who I am. I jump into it off or on. I can
sure, but you're also making it sound like I'm being disingenuous.
No. I think if anything, you're being disingenuous off of the camera in this specific instance.
The thing is,
You've slowly scooted away, so you're very small, and I'm like close. And so when the cameras switch, I'm like gigantic. So come a little closer.
It's because I put my other leg up.
I know. That's why I know that. That's why.
But now you're not gonna like if I like sit up and.
Well, I moved the camera because you're smaller than me, so I try to make it to where we're generally a similar size on the two cameras. Anyway, that's a camera thing. So anyway, all I'm saying is I think this could be very beneficial for people. Not that you have to sit down and get microphones and record, but the thought that someone might be listening to this conversation.
But it wouldn't work for most people because
No, but I think it could.
If they're doing it like they know they're not going to put it out anywhere, so they might just have the exact same conversation.
They should do that. I am. This is a very niche thing that I'm bringing up.
Yeah, it works for us for a very specific, odd reason.
But it could work for other people. We're not special.
For most people, it might be like, go get counseling, because then you'll have somebody there and you might act differently.
Well, and
you
also
might be able to express your feelings without the emotion and screaming, because you're not going to do that in front of somebody.
Sure. Also, when you and I say counseling, a lot of times for us, we mean like people that we know from church, elders, people that we respect and have lived life longer than us, that we would want to discuss personal level things with them.
Yeah, but then, I mean, obviously.
Right. No. Yeah.
But
you could that's good. So anyway, no, you can continue. But that's definitely
crazy.
You don't have to.
But I'm not.
I feel like a lot of times you're like trying to defend people.
I wouldn't then say to somebody who says, "Oh, I'm not a believer," so you're saying get counseling from church, so I'm not going to get anything. I'd be like, okay, if you're set on being a non-believer,
I would tell that person to go to church first.
of course.
Okay.
But if they're completely like, I'm not interested, I'm not
Yeah.
going to do that, and
Don't
nothing,
worry too much
would you
about.
not tell them, get input
Sure.
from your
Sure.
friends?
Don't worry
Go
too much about
listen to
defending the people
your
that are
parents or
watching
something,
us rather
know?
than getting our view across. Not that we're more important than the viewer, but the viewer's here to watch us and our thoughts and opinions. We don't want to,
Fair enough.
you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't want to wash down what
Yeah,
we
but I want to
think.
throw out other people. Maybe somebody stumble
Never.
across and you just be like,
Yeah.
oh, you're not like us? Goodbye.
Sure. No, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. We often play two sides. You and I often play the opposite side of the same coin. So we are agreeing with each other. Like, I would say, Esther will have to say for herself. Esther and I, whether or not it always seems like it, are generally 90% plus in agreement.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying, obviously, you would expect that from, well, it changes. It's been changing. You can look it up yourself without me getting super detailed about it. That married people aren't generally 90% plus in agreement. But I would hope that you would expect that. What I mean is things that you wouldn't even necessarily think you would need to be in agreement on. We do actually share a similar, even though we're very different and you can tell that we do generally come to similar goals on things that aren't important is what I'm saying. Like we just generally agree with each other. And I feel like that's such an interesting part of us as people anyway. And part of the reason we do this podcast, I can't even think of what we're talking about. So don't be super careful to defend someone's opinion that isn't here. Sometimes it sounds like it's yours. But I also agree with you that I'm not telling people to stumble around and put no work and effort into something that they feel is difficult. But there are better and worse steps to take. You can't just say, well, this is the way that people generally do it. This is what's being pushed online. There's so many people that they're, that this is the way to go. That's not, delve deeper. Most important would be finding, is someone here?
Yeah.
Okay, somebody's here. So we'll end this. Esther might even just start walking away. But we obviously have an opinion and a way of doing things, and it's going to differ, and that's fine. But we want to be clear on what we think is a good route, and it's not because we said so; it's because what we believe, right? But it is also true that there are different ways for different people at the different level they are in their life, where they're at in their life. Not level as in there's better and there's worse, but just different stage is the word I was trying to think of. So anyway, I have no idea what we talked about, but it was all good.
But we'll follow up on
it was all good.
setting.
The clipping of it is going to be very interesting. I'm interested to see how many different things come out of this one. So if you watch this one actually all the way through, that's crazy. And you can tell us something about having to watch that all the way through. I mean, that's just crazy.
All right. So hopefully we'll be a little more, organized in our thoughts.
And now someone's calling, so the screen turned green. That's so funny. All right. See you guys.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.